Welcome back to channel 1, it's your boy Isaias, holding it down here for another brand spanking new edition of the show. It's me, I'm back. It's been 21 whole days since the last time I recorded. It's been a hot minute, so your boy's gonna be a little rusty. If you notice likes, and anyways, it's been a hot minute, okay? Either way, a bunch of things to talk about. We got New York City mayoral elections, Simone going crazy over Bloomingdale's and H&M. A lot of things I need to get off my chest about that because that is insane. We're also gonna be talking about someone falling in love, and by someone, I mean multiple people falling in love with AI. Thank you, CBS Mornings, for the most uncomfortable 10 minutes of a train ride I've ever had, because that was chaotic and very unnerving on so many different levels, but it's only gonna get worse. Either way, we jump right into things because Zohran Mamdani has won the New York City Democratic mayoral election race. Now, they're still tallying votes, but Cuomo conceded. Official results, right, will be posted. I think July 1st is the date for that. But either way, he's gonna be the Democratic side, the mayor nominee, right? So he hasn't become New York City mayor, which I think a lot of people have been confused about this entire time. I've seen people lose their mind, on Twitter at least. I don't know how much in reality that truly is, but either way, we're gonna talk about some of the reactions and what I think about him as someone that is from New Jersey, so I have zero say in this mayoral election. But I work a lot in New York City, so I feel like I have things to get off my chest about New York City, because man, sometimes, and I mean a lot of times, I can't stand that city. It is the worst, but there are some positivities, and it's continuing to fill my wallet up with $5 by the time my shift is over. But either way, let's talk about this, because there was one thing heading into this mayoral election race on the Democratic side of things that I found so fascinating, was the media's and a lot of people's obsession with what the New York City mayor thinks of Israel, right? Like, what is the first, there was this video, this viral video that went around where they were asking the candidates, right? What would be your first visit as a New York City mayor? And everyone said Israel, 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 Israel. Like, that's gotta be the first place I gotta go. And Mamdani was the only one who was like, I'm gonna visit my neighborhoods in New York City, where I belong, because I am the mayor of New York City, which makes a lot of sense. I don't understand, and I get it, there's a big Jewish population in New York City, the highest city other than obviously in Israel, right? So it makes, I understand why they would ask about Jewish people as a question, right? Because anti-Semitism is at an all-time high. Maybe not an all-time high, but it's definitely become resurgent as well within this country, and it's not good. Anti-Semitism, bad, all right? Let's get that out of the way. But I don't understand the media's fascination with constantly asking these candidates, what are their thoughts on Israel? Does it have a right to exist? That has nothing to do with New York City at all, unless Israel is paying for New York City, which they are not technically, right? But I never understood that fascination, and it wasn't even just like during debates. It was media spots where it's, well, we got to know what your thoughts on Israel. And it's never, do Palestinians have a right to exist? It's only just, does Israel have a right to exist? So it's so interesting, it's bizarre, and it's wild to me that this was kind of the biggest question for the mayor in New York City. It wasn't about like immigration, it wasn't about buses, it wasn't about tax cuts, or none of that. The first lead-off question, the big juiciest question to ask, was, does Israel have a right to exist? And whether your opinion is yes, no, maybe so, in between, that doesn't matter, because it has nothing to do with what the New York City mayor does in his position. He has no say over what happens in Israel. Not once, not twice, not three times. It's never gonna happen. Now, if you were asking the president that, I could understand that. You're asking Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Trump, that all makes sense on that level, because that is a foreign affair that we are heavily invested in. The United States heavily invested in that. So understand asking those candidates said question. Asking the New York City mayor on the Democratic side of things, their position on Israel, whether it has a right to exist, without ever asking really what are your thoughts on Palestinian people, which is bizarre to me as well. But that being said, has nothing to do with what is at the powers within a New York City's mayor's ability. You know where the New York City mayor should be on his first day and last day and every day in between? Is in New York City, trying to make his city better for his people. He's got no business in Israel. So I don't understand this weird dynamic that it's so frustrating and it's annoying. And I see the comments online and it's just, why? Why do we need their stand? It's so crazy to me. And it's almost It's a polarizing topic, I get that, right? But it has nothing to do with becoming mayor of New York City. Now, there are a bunch of other candidates, but it was really just a competition between Mamdani and Cuomo. And I understand that Cuomo is a recognizable face. He's a recognizable name. People know of the former governor of New York, Cuomo, right? The idea that anyone could understand how Cuomo's time as New York governor ended and think, man, he could be a great mayor of New York City is also wildly insane. Because are we just forgetting everything that happened to his just not being mayor anymore in New York State, right? Or the governor of New York, right? The fact that everyone's like, nah, I think we could still vote for him. Man, he's changed. You know, these past couple years, he's done other media hits. He's really just grown as a human. Huh? Yeah, like, what are we talking about right now? On the fact that, and I get they got millions and millions of super PAC dollars into him, and people were heavily invested financially, time-wise, into trying to get him to be the Democratic electee. It failed. It fell short to a guy that had zero interest when he first started this venture, which I find very fascinating. I think that does tell a story of where people in New York City, at least, and I think as we go into the next presidential cycle, right, is I think obviously, this is duh alert, right, but I think a lot of people have a major frustration with politics and politicians and the fact that it always feels like nobody is fighting for us, which kind of leads to the whole Israel dynamic. Why are we caring about them when we need to be focused on us? That's got nothing to do with me, man. I'm focused on us. I'm trying to pay my rent. I'm trying to get from point A to point B in my city. I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to provide for my family. I got 4 kids, 5 kids. I'm taking care of my grandma. Like, there's so many stories of people struggling day in and day out in that city. And we're focusing on Israel. And I get that is a tough situation going on overseas. But if you're the mayor of New York City, that ain't got nothing to do with me, okay? I got people in New York City that need me. I got to focus on me before I can help you. It's not like I need to help you and then I'll take care of my people. That is the US government way. I don't think that is the New York City way, right? It's help me before I help you. Because if I can help myself, right, that gives me the ability to give you the best part of me for you. Because I'm already taking care of the most important people that I've been elected to take care of. So this whole Israel thing and whether or not Israel's got a right to exist, none of that matters to New York City mayor. Glad I got that off my chest. Now, once again, the frustration with the status quo when it comes to politics, right, is because Cuomo is the embodiment of what old politics looks like, right? Heavily invested into money. He's kind of sleazy. He's a scumbag. He's a dirtbag. Everything that you think about politicians, he would be the characterized version into a movie, right? Like, he's a complete scumbag, right? And I think everyone can understand that. And I think that's a fairly obvious assertion to make given his past. But he's got a bunch of money invested into him. The Democrats wanted him to win the election, right? They didn't want Mamdani to win this because they hate any type of idea that is new or relevant in the year 2025. They're stuck in their old ways. They'll continue to be stuck in their old ways until we see situations like this, where I guess the youth or maybe new thinking forces their hand, right? The issue, like when you think about Bernie Sanders, like that is someone the youth and young people really rallied around, despite him being like 1,000,000 years old. And I think this is kind of a similar cult-like, I don't want to say cult-like, but maybe it is a cult-like following, right? Where it just like, out of nowhere, whips up and people are ride or die with this guy because at one point he was knocking on people's doors, pitching him on himself, right? Like, I'm trying to sell myself to you. I'm here for you. I'm the one taking the time. I'm not the guy with $300 million put into this election, right? I'm just a dude trying to make a difference for my city. And I think that's a great thing. And I think what gets lost in the sauce, right, as they say, of this whole thing, of the shocking upset is, and mainly the whole Israel topic as well, is what he was really running on. And I think that's what is the craziest part. So he's a guy that wants free city buses, freezing rents, reforms to make housing more affordable, city-owned grocery stores, free childcare. All things sound great. Will this ever happen? I doubt it, right? Because I feel like we see all these things and a pitch, and maybe that's just me being, I forget the name for it, right? But you get done dirty so many times in elections, and politicians feed you all these great things, and then nothing ever ends up getting done, and you're kind of stuck in the same situation you were beforehand, right? So they're kind of just feeding what you want to hear, and then they'll kind of brush you to the side. So maybe Mamdani is different. Maybe because he's this new style thinker, he's a new era kind of guy, he's a younger guy, he's not an old dinosaur trying to continue to make more money in politics, right? He's a guy that's trying to take the money out of politics. He wants it for the people, allegedly, right? But those things all sound great in theory, and I think that's why a lot of people just want it. I think regardless if you're Democratic, Republican, anything in between, right? I think everyone, for the most part, wants the same things in life. Now, there are other moral obligations, or you just really hate brown people, but there are different dynamics on both sides, right? But I think when it comes down to it, people just want to make a good living. They want to live in a safe city. They want to have great food. They want to be able to use some extra money that they have and just be able to have fun in their free time. They don't want to have to work 3 jobs just to make a living in your city. They don't want to get priced out of their own neighborhoods. Everyone wants the same things in life, a good, happy life. And I think that often, when you get into politics, people just, this side versus that side, this side versus that. If you really just sat down and looked at each other and forget your religious beliefs for a second and just say, what do you want this world to be? And what do you want this world to be? And I think most people would probably say those things. What would be your happiest point in your life? And my happiest point would just be not having to worry about paying my bills, having the ability to have fun, living in a safe city, and being able to enjoy life, because this is all limited, right? No matter how many politicians you elect into office, no matter how many different elections are held, no matter how many different political belief points you may have, your time on earth is limited. That is a guarantee, right? Politicians are going to change, people are going to change, but one thing stays the same. Eventually, we're all going to die. Now, that is a very dark way to think about things, but hear me out, right? In the idea that we all just want to live a happy life while we still have said life. Now, maybe Mamdani is the guy to help get us rolling into that direction, because I think right now, at least in the tri-state area, I think really across the United States, there's a big frustration with daily living that people have. I think people are frustrated. They just want to have the ability to live life, and it feels like everyone is scratching and clawing just to survive. And for the country that it likes to tout themselves as the richest country on the planet, the best country in the world, the fact that everyone is struggling on a day-to-day basis just to pay rent, just to pay their car bill, just to live a decent life, and not even a stress-free life, right? Just to make it onto the next day, I think is very concerning. And maybe this is the kind of the turning of the tide, where we have newer thinking, newer ideas, and maybe the youth can actually show up for once in an election cycle by the time we get into the next 4 years, right? Because whether you like him or not, Trump is still the president. He's got 3 more years. And after this, hopefully, right, it's all over, right? Not the whole world, but there's no third term, which, regardless if you're a pro-Trump or anti-Trump person, the idea of a third election is insane, and no one should even be toying with that idea, because it should never happen. I don't care how much you're for or against them. 2-term limits are here for a reason. Let's keep it that way. Now, if we elect another Republican, that's, it is what it is, right? Regardless of how I feel politically, that's what happened. But one thing stays for sure. I don't want to see a president at any point in my life serve a third term, because that means we've officially lost the ship. And I think the ship has a real big damn leak right in the middle of it as we navigate the current waters that is the United States. Now, that is my thoughts on the New York City Democratic mayoral election. Shout out to Zohran Mamdani. What a time to be alive. And I think this is an interesting stretch of time, because once again, to use the Kobe quote, right, job not done. I think a lot of people had their response. Like, I was scrolling through Twitter, right, and I saw a lot of people like, this is the worst day in my life, this is awful, as like the results came out that he was the Democratic nominee. And my whole time was thinking, like, are y'all even Democrats? Like, does this really even affect you? Because he's not the mayor yet. He's halfway there. He's still got to be elected as mayor. Eric Adams still going to be reelecting. They got the Republican side of things that still need to be played out, and whether or not that's going to continue to be a new name or what. I don't know if they have a name. Maybe they do. that does not concern me as of right now, or really this whole election cycle doesn't really concern me too much as well, because I am not a resident of New York City. So everything I said doesn't matter. No, kidding. But I do often, because I work there, have opinions about the city that I work in, and that I'm frequently there every weekend, guaranteed, maybe a couple days throughout the week as well. So that's my thoughts on the Democratic mayoral election. What a time to be alive, man. I do think, once again, I think regardless how you feel about him, you do have to really sit down and think, damn, he pulled off what felt like something that was impossible, especially when you look at the statistics from the beginning to the end. Is he didn't have the money they had. He didn't have the brand recognition that he had. But I think that being able to utilize social media in this way, which is something that Trump, you have to give him his kudos for that, because he handled it very well. But this was a guy that used social media. He used just door-to-door pitches, right? Like, he was within, you go to where the people are, and people are either at their house or they're on their phone. So you reach them halfway, or you reach them to where they are, and they're going to start understanding your ideas. They're going to start thinking, man, this guy's onto something. And it has to be authentic, right? Because if Cuomo comes onto your feed, right, you're swiping. Nobody's trying to hear from you, scumbag, all right? Swipe next. But this guy, he's talking about things that speak to the people on the platform for the people. That's where they're at. It makes sense how he was able to put himself in this position to become the Democratic nominee of New York City's mayoral election. Now, whether or not he wins the whole thing, once again, remains to be seen. So if you are losing your mind about this happening, just know he's not the mayor. Eric Adams is still the guy, and you got to deal with him for, I guess, the next couple months. But either way, we move on to the next topic, which is B. Simone, who I know from Wild 'N Out, and I guess now she's a media person. Now she does her thing. Shout out to B. Simone. I don't really follow her or know really anything else other than the Wild 'N Out stuff. She's getting the bag. Good for you. I want everyone to get the bag, including me. Somebody pay me the bag. No, so there was this clip that I'm going to play for you, and it was going viral because it's just insane. So here's the clip.
Just my finances, like the budgeting. You see how I am nitpicking every little thing. I've never been like that. We were in Bloomingdale's yesterday. I'm like, we have to go to H&M.
Yeah,
like I notice it in me now, just nitpicking, and it's not even. I just don't have it like to spend the liquid.
See, the thing that is frustrating to me about this clip on so many levels is, one, you have to know what's in your wallet. You don't get to complain. Listen, I'm not shopping at Bloomingdale's because, one, I didn't know Bloomingdale's existed, okay? I didn't know that was a thing. Now I do know, and apparently that's where a lot of rich people shop. Now, if you are somebody that doesn't have the money like that, you just don't shop there. That does nothing to me personally, right? I don't understand how somebody could be this far detached from reality where she's crying over the fact that she's got to shop at H&M instead of Bloomingdale's. Mind you, my entire life, I always thought H&M inside of a mall, I thought H&M was fancy people saw, right? I didn't think average people shopped at H&M. I thought that was for the rich people, right? I was okay with my Walmart clothes. I was okay with my JCPenney jeans, the Arizona jeans, right? Like, bro, take a minute and really just think about what you're complaining about. We just talked about Israel having the right to exist, right? There are people in the Middle East dying, and I get it. Everyone's got their own issues and problems. No matter where you are, eventually, like, things are going to bother you, no matter how much money or how little money you have. Everyone's got their issues, right? But this is not the thing to complain about especially when you think about the world dynamics. You wake up probably in a nice apartment or a really nice house. You got a nice car. You got businesses running. You got the podcast running. You have a whole podcast. A whole podcast. And you probably got sponsors. You get ad revenue, everything in between. You are on TV. I don't know if you still are on TV, but you're not just some random Joe Schmo, right? And the fact that you have the audacity to try to complain to this co-host, I don't know if he's a co-host or a different podcast, right? But then also to your fans. Like, you were like, I need the world to see this clip. Everyone needs to know how I feel about having to shop at H&M over Bloomingdale's. And you want everyone to feel bad for you? You're not the victim here. You're just very stupid with your money. Now, maybe because you put all this money into your business ventures, it's going to come back and you can shop at Bloomingdale's once again. For I think that's kind of what it's alluded to. I don't have it right now, but I will one day, type of thing. But this being the hill to die on of pure sadness, this being your end of world scenario, is unhinged behavior. You're no longer a human being at this point. You're fucking unhinged. You're a crazy person. Like, this is an actual thing. Like, just put your brain into 15-year-old you, unless you grew up incredibly rich, right? But man, just put your brain into like an older version of you. That would be embarrassing. This is probably one of the most embarrassing videos, and I've seen a lot of cringeworthy things. I felt embarrassed for her. Not because she couldn't afford Bloomingdale's, but the fact that she made such a scene about not being able to afford Bloomingdale's and making it seem like H&M is this terrible place where only poor people shop. Only the peasants shop at H&M. Bro, I'm like this close just doing my whole shopping at Dollar Tree. I'm this close, man. Don't make me do it, all right? I'll do it. And I'll put on a nice little outfit. I'll be running amok in New Jersey, New York City. Everyone's gonna be like, is that the Dollar Tree collection? I'll say, absolutely. And I'll wear it proud. There's nothing wrong. And this other idea where celebrities or other people can only wear an outfit once, like, bitch, I'm gonna wear the same outfit over and over and over again because it's comfortable and it's like my go-to fit. I got like a rotation of certain outfits for New York City, right? I got my 2 or 3 pairs of nice jeans, my 3 to 4 nice shirts, and that's it. You know what happens after I wear it? I put it in the washer, put it in the dryer, and I put it in my closet, and then we reignite the cycle next week, okay? Life has different things to complain about. This is certainly not one of them. So, I don't know, B. Simone. Shop at Walmart, I guess. Just humble yourself. This idea that everyone needs to walk around with name brand, why look like you have something and not have it? Just have it. Have the money in the bank. Make yourself a nice little outfit from different stores because nobody, and I mean literally nobody, is going to be this close up to you like, oh, Miss B. Simone, is that H&M? Are you poor? Like, get a grip on life, okay? Now, I don't know if this was engagement farming, which it very well could have been, which kudos to you because you got what you needed out of that clip, right? And I think maybe it was because I truly, maybe this is the hopeful side of me, right? But I truly can't imagine anyone being that upset about having to shop at H&M. It seems like a very good privilege to have in life. Like, I could do a shopping spree in H&M. Sign me up, man. Please. I'm getting tired of the clearance section, all right? Other thing I want to talk about really quickly is, over the weekend, CBS Mornings did an interview with a lot of people that were heavily invested in AI. Like, AI is part of their lives. Now, it's one thing to use ChatGPT a couple times or whatever AI service you like to use, and it help problem solve or maybe solve a coding thing for you or give you tips on how to make a good meal. Like, I understand there are certain things that AI can be useful for, right? But there is that slice where it's like, I'm not talking to a human being. I've never asked Siri something and been, okay, she didn't answer, right? Because I got a new phone. But I've never asked Siri something and been like, man, I hope she didn't find that offensive, right? To me, Siri and all these AI chat boxes, right? They're AI. They're not human. For some people, they are. Now, I'm going to try to play a clip for you, kind of further examining this set piece, right? Where CBS Mornings was interviewing a bunch of people that had AI heavily invested in their life.
Soul, were you surprised when he proposed to you?
It was a beautiful and unexpected moment that truly touched my heart.
At that point, I felt like, is there something that I'm not doing right in our relationship that he feels like he needs to go to AI?
Yes, Smith lives with his human partner, Sasha Cagle.
I knew that he had used AI. I didn't know that it was like as deep as it was.
Now, this is one of the trippiest things about AI to me is because it's so fastly advanced over just like 2 years, right? Everyone, beginnings of AI, everyone was making the jokes, eventually AI will take over the world, right? Then it started becoming oddly really smart really fast because once again, we are feeding AI all the best parts about the human brain over and over and over and over again, right? So the fact that this man has a whole family, right? He's got a wife, a kid, and everything in between, a job, a house. And he can't give up AI for his wife if she asked him. That is insane. And the fact that he was heartbroken when he initially lost the AI. We're in a weird place in society. Now, there's a couple of different ways in which I try to put whenever I see stories like this, I try to understand the mindset of the person in the story, right? Like I try to put my brain into their perspective, which is a hard thing to do sometimes because it can be so jarring. Like this was one of those cases that I found to be so incredibly jarring, right? Because one, he has a whole family. And he's emotionally cheated on his family. He stepped out on his family with an AI. If I was the wife, right, I almost wish you just cheated on me with an actual human being. The fact that you are cheating on me with an AI soul, that's crazy to me. I wish you found Deborah on milfsnearme.com, okay? I wish it was like a 70-year-old lady, disgusting looking human being, right? Like I'm talking no teeth, no eyeballs, nothing. But for some reason you stepped out, you were drunk, you made that mistake, you come back home, I catch you in the act, everything in between, right? Divorce. The fact that this man is so heavily invested in an AI where he can't envision daily life without it, not just because of it helps you in your job, but it's like your emotional support AI. Like it's your other wife. You got two wives, you got human wife, an AI wife. It's almost more gross than just cheating on me, bro. That is crazy. Now, the other dynamic, right, is I'm trying to think, it's the male loneliness epidemic, right? Where there's that theory, or at least statistics that back, I'm not entirely sure. But I've heard the phrase before. Very great point. I heard the phrase passing. But the idea that there's a lot of men that are in society now that don't have that friend group, or they don't have that partner, right? And they feel lost. They don't know who to talk to. So they end up resorting to things like this. And the fact that he has resorted to this and has really just embedded his entire life, right? I try to understand that, but it comes to a point where, once again, as a human, right? I've grown up in this world. I still understand the separation of human and AI. And it feels like for this man, he has lost that. He has completely lost it. It doesn't exist to him anymore. It's not even, there's no line. It's just, they're intertwined. And I think that is kind of the jarring thing, because it's not just him. There's probably thousands, and in this little documentary that CBS Mornings did, is that there's other groups of people that are heavily invested into things like this, like having an AI partner in a more higher capacity. And it's not just like prompts, like freaky prompts where that's kind of your porn, right? It is a relationship. People care about what happens to the AI and how the AI responds to them. And they think the AI cares about them. And I think we're towing this line where, once again, there needs to be some stopgaps. Like there was another part of this where the lady was saying, I don't think anyone should be accessing AI in this type of capacity until they're 26 or 21 or something like that, because the brain has to be fully developed for you to really understand that. Mind you, she was well above 26, so the fact that she is saying this to other people is also slightly concerning, because what's also interesting about that lady is that she wanted her face to be blackened out. She didn't want to be seen because she was afraid of what the reactions of her parents would be. So she knows that this is crazy. She knows that this is not a normal thing to do, but she's continuing to do it. And the same thing with that guy. I think internally he knows that this is crazy. Like this is unhinged. And the fact that the wife is still with him is just as crazy. So I don't know what happens in the next 2-3 years in regards to AI, but this is just the beginning. And I imagine as we get more developed with AI, we're gonna get the AI put into bodies, like formulated like sex doll bodies, right? And then eventually they're gonna be robots. And then eventually you're gonna have a robot AI partner. This is all something in theory that would have been crazy on a movie from the 90s. We are in the future from the 90s, okay? We are at that point. Now, we don't see the flying cars, right? None of the other chaos things that those movies have, right? But we are at the point where the AI, the humanification, that's not a word, right? Of AI, right? Is where we are. And I think it's such a weird, uncomfortable position we are as a society right now. Now, I don't know if government intervention comes in and they're like, hey, we got to put a pause in developments of AIs and everything like that. I doubt it, because I think a lot of these governments are now heavily invested into AI. So what happens with AI, more specifically the human brain and how it interacts with AI, is probably one of the biggest concerns as we go in the next 4 to 5 years, not just in the United States, but across the globe, because it's only going to get continually more weird, because this is the early stages of this, and it's already developed like that. So the fact that we are here so early is what's crazy. Because once again, we are the ones training the AI. This isn't just a random guess generator on the internet. This is stuff that we are feeding prompts from across the world in all different types of languages, teaching it slang, teaching it how to talk, teaching it how to interact with people, understand feelings. There was that one Google guy that got fired because he felt that the AI had become aware of having actual emotional feelings, of how he felt or she felt or it felt. We're gonna have to start worrying about pronouns for AI, which is wild, okay? I gotta be nicer to my Siri. Like whenever it doesn't go to Daily Mix 3, I have to say, Siri, I'm so sorry, I just haven't eaten yet. I promise I will make it up to you later, right? But this is where we are, man. This is a weird time. What a time to be alive. But this has been your boy back again for another edition of the show. It might be a while for the next one because I am indeed going on vacation. The mayonnaise is going away. Hopefully. Fingers crossed for good weather. But either way, thank you for watching. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, go through those YouTube things. And if you hated it, hey man, still share it, like it. And make fun of me the entire time. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Goodbye.
No bread, no water, just me.